Hello and welcome to the Vocare Ministry class. You've rounded third and you're heading for home now, and we're starting to bring things together. The ministry class is one of those classes where we're starting to draw on everything that you've learned and apply it to, hopefully, what you're doing as an administrator, a leader in your institution, and how that institution's very reason for existence is to do ministry within the church. How your institution is ecclesial, and your job is as a minister of the church. Well, now I've given away what the whole class is about. This was the sort of thing you were supposed to learn by the end of class, but don't tell Dr. Miller I've already spilled the beans. Before we get too far ahead of ourselves, let me introduce myself. I'm Scott Steinkirchner. You can tell by the habit. I'm a Dominican, a member of the Chicago province, which sponsors Aquinas Institute. I'm a priest. My specialty is interreligious dialogue, and particularly I love Tibetan Buddhism. I spent a year in Nepal studying Tibetan Buddhism at a Tibetan monastery there. So those ideas will certainly come up as we're talking. But really, my vision of what it means to be Christian and what it means to be a member of the church is really what this class is all about. We are meant to be sacrament. We, you and I, by our baptism, are called to be a channel of God's grace in this world. That's a very challenging idea, and it's one that got renewed emphasis at the Second Vatican Council. It always was part of our tradition, but we had forgotten about it. It kind of dropped out of prominence for a long time. And at the Second Vatican Council, it came back into meaningful use in the church with the understanding, what does it mean to be baptized? What is baptism about? So we're going to begin our class now by reading the Catechism of the Catholic Church. Now, we're just going to read some small sections of the Catechism because the Catechism is very dense. It was not meant as a textbook for class. It's more of a notebook for bishops and theologians of, oh, remember, here's some classic ideas that whatever we say about whatever, we have to keep these in mind. So we're going to start our class with that. Keeping in mind these things, what does the church say about the theology of ministry, the theology of the priesthood? So I have some sections of the Catechism of the Catholic Church down there, maybe up there, I'm not sure, for you to read and to talk about in a discussion board. Some straightforward questions. They're not meant to be very thought-provoking. They're meant to make sure that you understand what's being said in the Catechism. That's all they're for. So just give a very straightforward answer. And then I will chime in now and then, and at the end give kind of my synthesis of where I think this is going. But I don't want to bias your reading of the Catechism too much. After that, in the course, we have this fantastic book, Ministries: A Relational Approach. I really like this book. It's a different way of looking at ministry in our church than perhaps you've considered before. We're only going to read the first half of the book, a little more than that, because after that it gets into some other issues that maybe are not our issues. But in that first half, it sets up ministry very well as something that's done by the church, in the church, and only only happens because of a connection in the church. And this is something that solves a lot of bad thinking about what we mean by ministry. So we'll march through this book slowly. We'll kind of have its greatest ideas down by the time you get to the intensive, because at the intensive we'll really have a chance to talk about these things better. So the point is, before the intensive, we will read the Catechism of the Catholic Church, get the basic background, read this book, understand Honnenberg's basic approach, and then we'll start talking about a synthesis. What does it really mean to be minister of Jesus Christ at the intensive? Then after that, we can move on to, now let's fine-tune this. Let's really understand what this is all about. But I guess that's all for now. I'm glad to have you in class. I'm excited about this class. I love teaching ministry, and I'm hopelessly systematic. So I'm looking forward to having this discussion to give you, by systematic I mean that broad vision of how all of this fits together into some coherent view that's consistent across how we read the Bible, how we think about this, how we act in our lives, how we make institutional policy. All those things come together in a systematic way. Anyway, that's what this course is about. I'm excited to work with you in it. Again, my name is Father Scott Steinkirchner. You could call me Scott or Father Scott. You could even call me Professor Steinkirchner if you really wanted, but nobody does that. And I'm looking forward to meeting you online this week. God bless.